Welcome back to the Coaches Show right here on SportsNetUSA.net. I'm Avery Jordan.
And I'm Luke Hobbs.
And first we're going to show a little bit of love to men's tennis. The Hornets tennis team has had a bit of a rough season. They're currently 6-12 right now overall in the season, at the bottom of the OEC standings right now, and they just came off a loss last Thursday against RCC. However, 3 weeks ago, they did come up with their first win against RCC for the first time in 10 years, which is a bit of an accomplishment. But both teams, Fullerton and RCC, tied at 1-7 right now in the conference at the bottom. This past week, the Hornets faced two of the top three teams in the OEC, Saddleback and Irvine Valley, and they were unable to come out with a win in either of those matches. This next week, they go up against Orange Coast College.
Yeah, and Orange Coast should be a chance for them to end the season on a high note, as that's a team that's only 2 games ahead of them. But if we speak about going out on a high note, Coach Roger C., the longtime tennis coach here at Fullerton College, is also going to be calling it quits at the end of this year. And Coach C., of course, had such a successful tenure here, also as the men's basketball coach, where when he retired, his 242 wins were 3rd all-time. Now switching gears over to baseball, the Hornets are also having a rough season on the diamond.
The Hornets are currently on a 4-game losing streak after their last game against Santa Ana, and they'll see Santa Ana one more time at home to close the 3-game series. Afterwards, they'll be facing Orange Coast College, who's one of the best teams in the OAC and one of the top teams in the state. So let's send it out to Ryan for an interview with the baseball coach at the Diamond.
So right now we're being joined by Coach Jason Smith of the baseball team here at Fullerton College. Coach Smith, since the last time we talked to you, what have you seen in your team?
Well, since the last time we've talked, we've definitely gotten some, good starts on the mound from guys. We're still staying competitive. We're in just about every game we play. We're, maybe one hit away from, turning the score over a little bit. Just in terms of if you're looking at, the end result of things, it's definitely not where we'd like to be. But if you're looking at, how our guys are still competing and, the effort that's still there, we're still happy with that. So, and that's all we can really ask for.
When you have a guy like Chris Sanchez, what does it do for your team to have that ace?
It goes a long way. When he has success like he has been, and you look at the way he approaches, his game, he's doing a lot of work in between his starts. He's got a good attitude. Younger guys, really see that, and then they feed off of that. And then, what you hope for is that eventually, that leads into someone next year becoming that guy. And then he hands that off to, the new group of guys coming in here. So, it says a lot for our program when someone kind of approaches their game that way. So,
yourself as a coach, you emphasize that you don't want your team to have those mental errors while fielding. What does it do for you when you do see like a 2-error inning?
It does happen. So you gotta, take it in stride, keep everything in perspective. You figure out, the reasons why. If it was kind of a, maybe a lack of focus or concentration, then, then that's something that we need to discuss, away from the game. And other times it's just maybe the position you're in based on the ball, how the ball was hit, or the field might be playing that day. So, like I said, you just kind of take it, play for play, and I try to keep everything in perspective, and you still try to teach and make sure that they're learning and improving, and so they can fix their mistakes on their own. Come the next time they're in maybe in that situation.
Which is easier for you as a coach to fix, a lack of focus or a mechanical error?
Physical things may seem to be kind of what might be the easiest thing to correct. But sometimes, a physical mistake can be based off of just, where they're at mentally. So you got to take the time to kind of invest on your guys. You got to kind of know their personality and what strengths they have and what weaknesses they have, and and that you're always in constant communication with them, because sometimes, like I said, there could be a little mental issue going on with them. So if you're communicating with those guys, hopefully you're able to kind of work through some of those things, so it doesn't lead to some of those physical mistakes.
Earlier you spoke about going against Santa Ana. What's it like to go against one of the largest rivals in Fullerton College history?
I love it. I really do. It's what makes it fun. What you look for is, when you see those guys and you're playing against those guys, that brings out the best in you. And that's what you really ask for. We want to play guys, and I know Fullerton Santa Ana goes a long way back, and that's what makes it fun, and it makes it enjoyable. So I look forward to it.
Thank you, Coach. We look forward to catching up with you later on during the season.
All right, thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Ryan. And now we'll send it right back to Mr. Osborn, right at the Hornets tennis courts.
So right now we're hanging out with Coach Roger C., head coach of the tennis team here at Fullerton College. Coach C., what got you interested into tennis?
Well, I retired from basketball in 1995, and I was on sabbatical as a visiting scholar at Cambridge University in '96. And the dean called me and said, "You're going to coach tennis." And I said, "Okay." So I had to have something to do, and I've had great assistants over the years that have helped me develop the program. We're in the toughest conference in the state with Irvine Valley and Cypress now, with all the international players. But it's been a good experience for me. We've been at this 21 years now. Calvin Valadares, one of my former players on my best team, is my assistant coach, and he's been with me quite a few years.
What made Calvin so special as a player?
He just competed. He loved the game, and he was a local guy. And we've had a few international players. Tim Poulin, for one, who's a great player, just walked on, the best player in the state that year, pretty much, and was real successful afterwards. My guys always wanted me to recruit more international players, but I told them, if I did, you wouldn't play. And it's a perfect example down at IVC. They have 1 or 2 local kids and 13 players, and they're all international. But Cal was one who competed, loved the game, and came back and offered to help me, and he's been my lifeline.
When you talk about the Orange Empire Conference, who do you see as the toughest team to beat this year?
There's no doubt it's IVC in Irvine Valley. We played them yesterday, and I had 2 really competitive matches, and the others, they're just heads and shoulders above everybody. Now, Cypress has a lot of international players also, but they've beaten Cypress 5-4 and 6-3, and they played different players in each match. They're all good, and I think it's unfortunate, but here at Fullerton with the new coach Yolanda Duran, she's going to have to recruit internationally if she wants to compete with those people. And the coach at IVC now has a women's team. He's in control of that, so he's bringing in international women players. So it's changing the scope of tennis. There's a real disparity in tennis at the state level. Those who recruit outside the borders of the states and those who don't.
How difficult is it to scout a team before your match?
We don't scout like basketball or baseball. You compare scores, and we tell our players, when you warm up in the match, what you do is you scout your opponent at that point, because you don't know who you're going to play from day in and day out. Now, when you get into conference, you might, but you scout, backhand, forehand, volleys, overheads. What do they hit well? Do they have a weakness? And you probe it, and you learn the first go-around, what you have to do the next time.
What's your favorite part about coaching tennis players?
The people. As it was in basketball, I've been coaching basketball. I've been coaching here for 43 years, and a lot of it's overlap. I've done basketball and tennis at the same time as an assistant for the last 6 or 7 years. It's the people. I love having people come back and say hi. One of the teachers just yesterday said, "Hey, you had a player named Tim." I said, "Tim Poulin, he was the best one I ever had." He said, "Say hi," and he's out. He was teaching me a few things. I went to the Saddleback Fullerton basketball game where the Hornets won the championship at that point. And one of my players was there from 1985. He says, "I knew you would come to this game, Coach. I wanted to come and see you." And got it on Facebook, and then everybody was saying, "Yeah, Coach, yeah, good to see you. You know, hope you're doing well." And that's the joy of it. I don't remember too many wins and losses in either of the sports, but I remember the people, even if it's after 30 years. You know, and yeah, of course, you know, I remember. And if they take something from Fullerton College, it's that it was a good experience. I got my grades, I transitioned on, I got a good job, got a wife, got kids, and, you know, living a good life. That's what's important to me.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate you coming on the show with us.
Okay, glad to be here.
So now we have a couple players here on the tennis team for Fullerton College. We have Bernardo Flores and Sean McCormick. We'll start over here with Sean. Sean, what's been the toughest part about OEC competition?
Well, it's the sheer ability of the players. We have, what was it, like 5 of the top 10 schools in our district. So the competition's always tough. We're usually one of the bottom teams, but that means, you know, we get to play against all the good guys, which is just always tough. There's never an easy match, it seems. So it's definitely a tough conference throughout all 6 positions at all schools.
Bernardo, being one of the new guys here, what's that been like?
It's been pretty good. It's a whole new experience to play college tennis. You know, I used to practice every day just to be here, and so far I like it. Yeah.
What's your favorite part about being a Hornet?
You know, all the support I get, we all get from the coaches. You know, all the fitness we do, all the practicing. You know, I think overall it's a good concept to be here. All the schools is good as well, and I'm really liking it a lot.
What's the biggest part of training that your coaches have been working on with you, Sean?
Oh, well, recently we've been doing a lot of core ab workouts, and those have been quite intense. But usually we do some conditioning as well, which has been also a huge factor, because if you don't have the fitness to compete at a high level like what we need to, it makes it really hard for the matches, because then you're tired and, you know, you're not able to play as you want just because of you being tired. So fitness is a pretty big deal, and yeah, we've been really working on that. So I think there's always room for improvement, but we're doing good pretty far right now.
What is the biggest transition from the lower level tennis now to college?
Well, I think it's basically that intensity, yeah, of course, and I mean every match is tough. Usually, like back in low-level tennis, like matches are not always tough, but here it's really tough. Every single point, every single match. So I think that's the biggest transition, and also your mental toughness. You need to be pretty tough in that side, because you gotta be able to play long matches. Yeah,
When you talk about long matches, what's the longest match you've ever played in?
Here in Fullerton or
RCC,
RCC, I was 2 hours and a half, 2 hours 45 minutes. Yeah, it's a tough match. Thank God we got the win. Yeah, it was pretty tough, but yeah, it was like a long match. Yeah.
What has been the most difficult match for you guys?
Either Cyprus or IVC. Those guys, it seems to always be 8-1. We'll be able to get one win, or, you know, they'll just shut us out. I think yesterday that was a 9-0 against IVC at their place. So they always have, you know, a bunch of foreign players that are really good, and that just completely makes them instantly, I guess, better than us, because they just have a bunch of match experience over there, and they come over here really wanting to play. And I'm not saying any of our guys don't, but it just makes it always tough. Especially their intensity is usually higher than what it is usually here, especially at tournaments. So that's it's always tough playing IVC in Cyprus now, because they weren't like that last year. They were last place last year, and then they got a bunch of new guys, and now they're competing with IVC for the top spot. So it's tough.
Well, thank you guys both. We look forward to seeing how you guys finish out the season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that will do it for this edition of the Coaches Show. Once again, I'm Avery Jordan.
And I'm Luke Hobbs.
Make sure you tune in next week for another exciting edition of the Coaches Show right here on SportsNetUSA.net.